Well, welcome back. In the previous tutorial, we worked on our fade screens still, but we separated them out a bit. One is the beginning of the game fade screen, which is what you're about to see now. It's a much slower fade, and there's also Bob sort of blinking his eyes as if he's waking up. But now we want to move Bob over here when we start the game. And then when we come in from, let's say, the kingdom, or, well, yeah, it would be from the kingdom, I guess, we want Bob's position to be back to just this, this point right here. And in order to do that, we need to modify a little bit of our external layout, not much, but a little bit, and utilize Bob's position X locations here, those global variables, to do that. So let's get started. What we need to bring up in terms of external events, am I going to need these? I don't think I am going to need those. I do need to go to Project Manager and go to our external layout here for Kingdom Rooms. Let me zoom out a little bit here. And I'm actually going to do what may be the unthinkable. I'm going to delete Bob from our external layout here, and instead just actually create him for the room here. So let's go to our basic kingdom room, and here's what I want to do. I want to create Bob at the beginning of the scene. Let's come in actions, objects, create an object. Let's create Bob. And I want to use the global variable of Bob position X that we created way back when. So I'm going to copy this and paste it and change this to a Y value. Whoops, capital Y. Base layer is the same. I also want to give Bob a Z order, and the Z order thing is going to become much more important now as we're dealing with multiple objects, so we have to be careful about how we're utilizing this. 500 is for our fade screen, and that gives us a tremendous amount of wiggle room here for objects and things like that. We want Bob to have the next most Z order here, right? So Bob should be on top of a lot of things. So let's copy this and paste it in, and let's change this to 499 so that only the fade screen has more priority than Bob. Let's change this to Bob. All right. Now we need to change the starting position of that Bob position X. Let's go to Project Manager. Let's go to our global variables. And I think this was the first set we ever did. Yeah. So we hard-coded Bob's position right outside the door in the main room, right? We hard-coded his position right here. But then we also already changed it so when we came in from the kingdom, it changed those codes to this. So we don't need that anymore. We now need Bob's position to essentially be right here in the pillow. So what does that look like? Well, the width of our bed, maybe I should do that first. You go to Basic Kingdom Room, let me bring up the bed here, and then we'll look at it in Pascal. And then if we click on resize, we get the width and height. So the width of our object bed here is 100. That means the midpoint is 50. 50 here, right? So we can take the beginning point of our bed, X position, the starting position is the X position of our bed itself, right? And then we can add the we can add the difference for where we want Bob to actually start here, the starting position of Bob. Maybe I'll show. Showing through code might be a little bit easier here. Because we do have to think about this. If this is 100, the midpoint is 50. The midpoint of Bob is actually a 64 by 64. Wait, is he or is he 32? Bob's 32, I think. Oh boy, I forgot Bob. What about Bob, right? Let me see for a second, because I did forget if Bob was 64 or 32. 32 by 32, okay. All right, so then the midpoint of Bob is 18. Okay, let's cancel and get out of this. So we can take, if we go back to our global variables here, we can read off of our values that we created for the bed itself. The bed begins, let's go down here and read those values. Here they are. The bed starts at 120. So we can add 32 to that and get 152. Let's try 152 for X position. And for the Y position, what was it, 400? Is that right? I forgot already. 400. So let's try 152 for 100. And let's see where that takes us here. Not bad. Not bad. Now, we want to make this. Let's see if this still works actually first. Let's go outside and inside. We want to make Bob's direction this when he's in bed, right down, the down position. And then we want to make his position up when he comes in from a room. So let's go ahead and handle that as well here. The Z order of Bob, we can do that actually right in this section here. If the start of game is 0, let's go ahead and change the rotation of Bob. Direction, change the direction, or is it rotation here? Sorry. I think it's just direction here. Change the direction of Bob. So you can use an angle, or you can use the 8 direction mode. We're going to use the angle. And right now, when Bob's facing to the right, that's sort of the 0 out point. 90 degrees, I believe, would be Bob facing down. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's see if that worked. All right, so Bob's facing down. He's in bed. He's waking up. We can't move yet, which is right. And then Bob pops out, and we'll deal with that at some point too. Okay, so when Bob enters a room here, let's copy this code, paste it in, and move it up. And I think what is it? Would be 90 facing up would be 270. Is that right? 270, I think. It would be 90 times 3, or 903. Not at all. 90 times 3 equals 270. So 270 should get Bob facing up when he enters a room. Let's try that. Okay, let's exit our room here. Let's go back in. There he is.